The Global Monitoring Report is a joint report with the IMF. This case here in Singapore, I was the only one presenting. We report through the Global Monitoring Report to our governing board as well as to the development community at large, where we are on the progress with attainment of the Millennium Development Goals. But also we always ask every year to look at the specific theme that is important for economic development, look at its intricacies and see how it impacts progress towards the MDGs. Like for example, last year we looked at food prices and nutrition and what the implications were of those for the MDGs. And this year we decided that we would look at urbanization, because we see that urbanized countries do so much better in this respect to gross domestic product, or have much higher income GDP per capita. So we wanted to investigate on how urbanization, if managed well, can actually help to make progress towards the MDGs and how it can make people better off. Yes, first I think we need to realize, of course, that some of the things that I'm going to put forward are really partial of the whole urbanization process. We also need to make sure that, of course, that when cities are urbanizing, that we make sure that it's creating jobs and better jobs and well-paying jobs. So it's very important that we keep also an eye not only on service delivery, like related to the Millennium Development Goals, but also that we very much focus on making sure that cities can keep on creating jobs and hence through that help individuals do better. So it's very important that also cities keep on focusing on the business environment, keep on focusing on the investment climate. And then in a sense, when that's in place, then of course we also say, well, then people will come, because if you are generating better jobs, we will see a lot of migration from the rural to urban areas. And if that's happening, and we know that that's happening, then we need to prepare for when these people arrive in the cities. That's so that we keep the comparative advantage of a city in creating jobs, but also that we really help it to deliver services much better. And there in the report we're saying it's very important that you think about how you plan for the arrival of all these people, and how you plan for maintaining your comparative advantage for businesses to create these jobs, that you think about connecting to the hinterland, connecting to your export market, but also of course connecting within the city to deal with the congestion problems that you raised. And of course we also say you need to look at the financing. How are we going to be able to finance all these infrastructural needs and the plans that we have to make sure that we deliver the services to people, but also that we keep on creating jobs? Well, the most difficult one is often the planning, because we're trying to look in the glass ball. No? We're looking forward what might happen, and we want to pick a certain strategy that we think is going to be most viable for a country, or for a city. And as you know, Singapore has been very successful in planning for the urbanization. Well, it was an urban area from the beginning, but also to really get the income growth, the job growth, and the service delivery organized well. So it's very important in the beginning to really think about the planning. What type of infrastructural investments do we need? How are we going to use the land? How are we going to price the land so that we can deliver on the services that we want? It's very important to upfront think about what type of investment projects one wants to do and how viable these investment projects are. Because very often it's sorry to use the word, but very often it's more sexy to think about the financing and to talk to financiers, the big banks or the donors in developing countries, and to ask them what they think is relevant and what they think is important. And then we get the countries implementing projects that are not necessarily best for the country as a whole. So it's very important to start with planning and to have strong planning capacity in country and in cities. And then we need to start thinking on how we implement these investment projects, and then we have to think about the infrastructure that is needed for roads, but also for sewerage, sanitation and water. And then the last part really is the financing. Once you really know what are your priorities and what are the problems potentially with the implementation of these projects, then you can really think about what type of financing is best suited for those projects. Well, we are in the world is basically getting very enthusiastic about thinking about the next generation of Millennium Development Goals. It's very clear that people are very worried nowadays about the environment and the sustainability of the progress of processes that is happening at the world. And so hence, if we're looking forward to 2015 or beyond 2015, we should anticipate that some of the MDGs that we have now will still be there, because even though some of them we have globally reached, we still have 1.2 billion people living in extreme poverty. So it's very important for us to say, by now, for the next goals, we want to eradicate it. We need to be more vigilant also is still related to health and education. Those goals also have been very difficult to be reached under this between 2000 and 2015. We don't anticipate a hell of a lot of the targets that the MDGs have set to be reached. And now, of course, the real challenge also comes from the sustainability side. We live on one planet. Many people feel or believe that we are reaching the planetary boundaries. So the challenge will be there to think through how are we going to define individual goals for countries, relevant to countries, that deal with these type of issues. That will be a big challenge going forward.